Well, we got to talk about this because ex-Ravens linebacker, outside linebacker Tyus Bowser is the one finally doing the talking to talk a little bit about his $4.5 million grievance against the Baltimore Ravens. This is courtesy of Brian Wacker of the Baltimore Sun, if you want to go check this out. He is now 29. Tyus, of course, missed all of last season, and he is claiming that Baltimore's team doctors did not properly diagnose his knee injury. This has been a pretty big mystery. Tyus was a second-round pick of Baltimore's back in 2017, 47th overall out of Houston. Somebody that had some flashes of brilliance, for sure. 19 and a half career sacks in Baltimore, 4 forced fumbles, over 150 tackles, 4 picks, 1 defensive touchdown, locker room guy, nice guy, community-driven. So to have watched this unfold last year with such a big mystery around it and weird messaging from John Harbaugh about his return timetable and Tyus never really coming out and sharing how things got to this point, there was a lot of uncertainty around it. I'll read directly from Brian's piece to get you caught up. John Harbaugh had expected the 2017 second-round draft pick to be available at the start of last season in a significant piece of a stout defense, but with each passing week, it became obvious that Bowser wasn't going to be activated from the non-football injury list. And remember, the difference between the NFI, non-football injury list, and IR, injured reserve, is that one pays you and the other doesn't. And the one who doesn't is what Tyus was on, the non-football injury list. He never played last season, and the Ravens released Bowser in March. Publicly, Harbaugh and Eric DeCosta said little and spoke vaguely about Bowser's injury, with the coach in late October saying that the knee is, quote, a little angry at times. Privately, Bowser, who filed a $4.5 million grievance against the organization in April after not being paid for last season, fumed over his medical care. Quote, directly from Tyus, I'm going into the year talking with the Ravens doctors. I was supposed to be back at the beginning of training camp, and the injury lingered on throughout the season. You expecting the people that you trust that is getting paid to help you get back on the field, and they're not doing their job. I went the entire year without knowing exactly why my knee was reacting the way it did, and then I go to somebody else for an opinion, and he tells me within 10 minutes what the problem is. Something as simple as an MRI you've seen millions of times. You can't see this simple thing. That's nobody else's fault but yours. Tyus Bowser taking direct aim at the Ravens team medical staff. More from Brian Wacker's piece on the Sun. The injury, according to Bowser, was loose bodies, fragments of bone or cartilage that break off and float in the knee joint, causing pain, swelling, and limited range of motion that lingered for months. He was, what the hell, platelet? He was given platelet-rich plasma injections to treat it. Hopefully we have a doctor in the live chat. Did I pronounce that right? Is it platelet or platelet? Or neither? But the swelling persisted, he said. At some point along the way, he also suffered a staph infection. It wasn't until December, according to Bowser, that an outside second opinion correctly identified the injury. It was a thing that can be fixed through surgery and going to clean out the knee, but I went the entire year without the doctors even knowing it. That's a direct quote from Tyus. Quote, that caused me to miss the whole year. That could have easily been fixed, and I could have been back by the start of the season. So, some strong words there from Tyus, particularly on that first slide, where he said that's nobody else's fault but yours. We know the specifics of the injury, but we don't know what caused the injury. What we do know is this. This is not the first time that the Ravens have had an ex-player complaining and opening up about some part of their staff. What you shouldn't get confused here with, And somebody did earlier today in our lunch hour stream where they said Derek Wolfe would agree or would be able to relate. That's not necessarily the same. Remember, Derek Wolfe's concerns and complaints were about Steve Saunders and in the strength and conditioning department. Tyus is taking issue with the way that he was evaluated and treated from a medical standpoint by the team doctors. Okay, so it might be under the same umbrella, but it's not the exact same branch underneath that umbrella. Point being, I'm not making excuses here whatsoever. This is what we got to take Tyus at face value. I don't expect the Ravens to comment publicly about a grievance. They haven't really done that whatsoever with Earl Thomas. But this is some significant claims here from Tyus Bowser. It was a dark and uncertain year for him last season. And now we know a little bit, just a little bit, not necessarily what caused it, but at least now we know some of the inner workings in terms of between the ears for Tyus on what he was feeling and thinking about his setback. And that's that. We'll open up the guest lines in just a second here. You can click on the link that I just threw into the live chat. A couple other notes in terms of AFC North play. Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland head coach, told reporters that despite Nick Chubb's questionable injury tag for Sunday's game against Cincy, the Cleveland running back is expected to play for the first time since he suffered last season's knee injury, and it was a brutal one. Expected to play week 7. Nick is, the heart and soul of this Cleveland team. They have missed him dearly, but nobody can save this organization right now. They are going down in flames. They are 1-5, going nowhere fast. And it's a damn shame, too, because I am a huge fan of Nick Chubb's game, and that offense functions differently when he's involved. And how about this? Look who's back after all. Anthony Richardson has been announced as Indy's starting quarterback for Week 7 against Miami, meaning that Joe Flacco's services are no longer needed, meaning Cleveland should probably bring him back. What a joke. That's obviously what you have to do. It's just too bad because Joe is clearly one of the best 32 quarterbacks that are in this league right now. But a lot of people obviously view him as a bridge quarterback because of his old age and lack of mobility. And when you've drafted Anthony so high up and you've invested in him as your franchise quarterback, if he is healthy, you have to play him. That's just sort of the reality of it. But the Joe Flacco show is over, at least for the time being, in Indianapolis. My, oh my, was it fun. Can't wait to see him on the Manning cast. It's going to be fantastic. I'm so glad he's like soaking up every moment too and really taking advantage, right? Like he's taking advantage of the moment. You have no idea how much longer you're going to have in this league. And the fact that he's still in this league and mixing it up and still one of the best 32 quarterbacks, you can't not love that.